All right, this part of the lesson we're going to take a look at an accumulator. We're going to look at this part of the system. We're once again still working with a cycling clutch orifice tube system here. This is on the low pressure side, and I actually have a component here off of a vehicle that we've done a cutaway on so we can see what's inside of these things and understand a little bit more of how they work. So here is the component right here. You can see that there's a place to connect a line here and another one right here. So what are these lines? So if we take a look at this line right here and how it comes into the cylinder, there's actually just a pass-through hole right there, right? So you can see that this would be any refrigerant coming from the evaporator. So here's my evaporator. Any refrigerant coming to the accumulator will enter in this side of the accumulator. So if there is any liquid, that liquid is going to drop to the bottom of this cylinder and will stay down there. It's the liquid we don't want to come back to the compressor, right? That's what we're trying to protect. We just want gas getting back to the compressor or vapor. So the suction side, this line right here, will be the line that attaches directly to the compressor. So we can see that that loops and is drawing from the top inside of the accumulator. So what they've done here is there's this little bell on top here, and the reason that bell is there is because any of the liquid refrigerant coming into the accumulator will not go directly and enter that tube. So it hits this bell and is deflected and directed down inside here. So the suction line will draw inside all the way to the top. Underneath that bell is the opening for that line. So we will ensure that we are only passing vapor as it continues on to the compressor through here. Okay. So this is what does that. Now if we take a closer look inside of here, some things have been moved around. Let me get them back where they go. So we've got this little screen down in here in the bottom of this thing, and it's not there as a filter. It's there to, it's a really mild filter, I guess you'd say. Any big debris items are not going to be able to pass through that screen, excuse me. And so within this pipe, at the bottom, there is a small hole drilled in that pipe. And the reason we need that small hole is, yeah, obviously we're going to get some liquid refrigerant to get in there, but not near the amount of gas that's going to be in there. So we'll draw in a little bit. It's not that we want liquid refrigerant to our compressor. What we want is all of the oil that is dropped to the bottom that is mixed with the refrigerant. So if we can't let that oil continue to pass through the system and get to the compressor, we're going to damage the compressor. If I haven't mentioned this earlier in another video, we need the refrigerant to move the oil throughout the system. So if we send it all to the bottom of the accumulator and we have no way to get it out of there because we're only drawing a gas out of here, then we're going to starve that compressor for any oil. So there is a hole down here behind the screen to draw the oil and some liquid refrigerant to continue the path for the oil to get through. What's not inside of here is the desiccant bag. That's been removed for various reasons, but it's no longer in here. So that bag is not really attached to anything. It's encased in its own little cloth material. It's set inside of here, and you are provided a sealed unit when you purchase this, or there will be a sealed desiccant bag with inside the accumulator itself. Now, there's nothing inside of here that's serviceable. When you have to replace this component, it's replaced as a whole. The desiccant bag's inside. Here's one of the precautions you need to be well aware of. When you receive one of these, you will find they are capped on both sides from the manufacturer. When it comes in a box, they will cap these off. Why? Because of the desiccant bag. If this were exposed to the atmosphere for longer than 30 minutes, they say, I think that's the spec on that any moisture in the air will be absorbed into that desiccant bag and it'll become saturated and no longer be able to draw any more moisture. It's completely saturated. So if you purchased one of these and the cap has been removed, you don't want it. The desiccant bag is worthless inside of here. So please make sure that you have the caps on there. And the other thing is, if you install one of these on a vehicle, this is the last component you want to put on the car if you're doing any major component changes, is the accumulator. Why? Because as soon as you pull those caps off, the clock starts. So you need to get the unit back sealed up as quick as you possibly can and start pulling a vacuum on the system to alleviate any moisture that has been drawn in there. So we don't want a lot of exposure time to the atmosphere with these components right here. All right, there you go. So now you got a little bit of a review on what an accumulator does.